There was a lot to learn. As you said, Abby, we have well over 40 countries represented here.
Yep.
And all the experiences within Africa and without Africa has been shared here. And what stood out for me is that there's so much technology which has come into the water sector that we as water professionals must begin to think how we can leverage it to improve services to the people that we serve.
Of course, engineer, one of the biggest challenges that Kenya is currently facing is we don't have access to water to almost all the homes. It cuts across different counties. Of course, Nairobi being the capital city, we still have areas that are not served when it comes to access to water. And will this also form a critical area of discussion in this conference?
It has actually formed a critical area of discussion in the conference. If you recall, when the president of the country came to officially open the conference, he said that only 53% of Kenya is fully served. And if you go to other African countries, the story is not different. And the problem has been lack of resources that can help us accelerate coverage in various areas of our country. And we are beginning to think that should we continue to rely on taxes alone, or should we look for alternative methods of financing water infrastructure?
Yes.
And this discussion has been ongoing. And I think people are beginning to realize that public-private partnership in the water sector is something that has arrived, and that we must begin to think seriously how we can leverage that to increase coverage.
Of course, you also wear another hat as the MD at Kisumu Water and Sewerage Company, apart from attending this conference as a delegate. Looking at some of the critical issues that have been affecting the water sector is the issue around people having illegal connections in slums. I know Kisumu has been able to work around this, and we are seeing some good progress on this. Just update us on this, and what are some of the lessons that other counties can learn from Kisumu?
I would start with the lesson. The lesson is that there's money to be made at the bottom of the pyramid. And that's very important. At Kisumu, we have pioneered a very unique called delegated management model. We partner with the community to sell water to them in bulk, which they retail to their consumers. And in so doing, they are able then to look at issues of vandalism. They're able to look at water theft. They're able also to check on misuse of water in the informal settlement. And you won't believe it, using that very simple mechanism, we have reduced water loss in the informal settlements to below 10%. And this is something that we have shared with the world, and many countries have come to Kisumu to share and see how we are doing it. And other countries beyond Africa equally have come to Kisumu to learn what we are doing. So we are very proud of this, and we are happy that our people are able to access water cheaply and affordably.
The other issue that a lot of consumers have raised across the board, be it Nairobi Water, Kisumu Water, is the question of billing of their bills. We've seen cases where people coming with bills to the authorities saying, we have been overcharged. How do we tackle this issue? Because it has actually contributed to being a deterrent when it comes to people being able to pay their bills in time.
That's true. As an effort to improve our customer relationship management, particularly in regard to bills, we have introduced technology in our meter reading, because that was a major source of this problem. And we have now using ICT in meter reading. We do take readings using a computer and transmit that record directly to the office. And we equally take a picture of the meter which is being read. In so doing, then, we have verifiable record of what the meter reader has done, and that can then be checked if there are any complaints that are rising. As a result, we have managed to reduce this manner of complaints to a negligible level. So what I would suggest to other water companies is to explore and exploit ICT in dealing with some of these challenges.
That's a good place to end it. Many thanks, Engineer David Onyango, sharing with us some of the latest from this particular conference. He is also championing for the fact that Kisumu has an interesting model that other counties can actually consider taking up. It has been an interesting discussion, and we want now to cross over to Joy Doreen, who is also having someone on standby to talk more about these water issues. Over to you, Joy.
Abby, and that's the perspective on Kisumu County and how exactly they're doing regarding maintenance of water, as well as making sure that the equipment is right and well taken care of to allow people there access clean water and sanitation. Let's now take a look at the other perspective, that is the entire continental perspective. And we're now speaking to a sanitation specialist from the World Bank, that is Sylvain Migan, who is a senior water and sanitation specialist at the World Bank. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you. When it comes to access to water around Africa, I'm sure the World Bank has done a lot of studies. What are some of the programs or some of the initiatives that the World Bank has put in place to ensure that Africa has better access to water?
Yes, thank you. What we put in place is in line with the main goal that we define to secure water for all around the world, and in the perspective to end extreme poverty and shared prosperity. In Africa perspective, we know that the people are lack of water provision at home and in the village. And more the people will come from the rural area for the big cities. And we have a huge challenge, and the challenge we have today is to help the government, help the water utility, to put some economic value on the public goods, to avoid the misuse of the resource. And where this kind of transformation is not possible, we help the government to support the water utility to make the service affordable for the poor.
Right. So you're from Benin, and I'm sure that Benin has a certain coverage of water. But when you look at the African countries, 54 African countries, do you think that there are some countries that are doing much better than a number of other countries? Because Kenya, for instance, has water coverage of 56%. But how are the other African countries doing?
That's roughly the case for all the African countries. If you remember, in 2000, we defined the goals that we call the MDG goals, and to cut by half the people who lack of access to 2015. And when we came to 2015, we noticed that the country not achieved the goals.
Right.
And then we define now the new goals for 2030 to ensure the universal access. That means that 100% of the country should be provided with sustainable access.
Right.
But the resources need to be managed and handled in efficient way to ensure that. And we understood as well that only the government only cannot afford. That reason why we are promoting the participation of the private sector to partnership with the government and to put more efficiency, innovation, creativity in the way they provide service to the people, and to ensure that the people get really access to the water.
All right, so we have revenue water and we have non-revenue water. But when it comes to the both of them, do you think that water is accessible to every African, to every Kenyan in this case? And when it comes to the revenue water, do you think it's affordable enough for everyone to have access to clean water?
The problem is not really the affordability, it's the way the water utility and the operator manage the services. If today we understood that the main goal is not to fix the pipe,
right,
but to fix the institution that can fix the pipe. If the pipe are well fixed by the institutions, this avoids the non-revenue water, they ensure the real cost recovery for the water utility and operators, and can make the service affordable for the people.
All right, and going forward, what sort of initiatives is the World Bank planning on having? Do you think the funding that we are getting in Africa that is geared towards improving access to water is enough, or you think more can be done?
That's what I'm saying. the financing we provide to the government is a public financing, even coming from the bank, to support the government to face the challenge to provide sustainable service provision to the people. And then we are sure that if the country enable the environment for the participation of the private sector, they can complement the public funds and the private funds to allow the people to achieve the goal.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We do
You're welcome.
appreciate the time taken to speak to us.
Thank you.
And there is Sylvain Migan, who is a senior water and sanitation specialist at the World Bank. He's also taking part in the Africa Water Congress that is happening here at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where it is the 18th AFWA International Congress, an exhibition bringing together countries from around the continent and, of course, stakeholders from beyond, like the World Bank, the Africa Development Bank as well. And we're having so many other players that we're going to be speaking to at about 3:30. We hope to speak to the Minister for Water and Environment from Ghana and also the Minister for Water from Uganda, hoping to tell us their stories from those specific countries. In Uganda, which is an East African country, and Ghana, which is a West African country. So do stay with us. We've come to the end of the hour here on Business Today. My name is Joy Dorindira, and before I can even wind the entire show up, I've not been alone on the show. I've been with Abi Agina, my colleague. Abi, as we wind up, what do you have to say?
Well, it has been an eventful conference, if I may say. A lot of technology is up for showcase here. A lot that Kenyans can actually come and learn a thing or two, and even for the investors, a lot of companies have also set up here. And at about 3:30 p.m. we'll be speaking to a gentleman who can quickly introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Edward Keta, MD Junaco Trading Kenya Limited.
Oh yes, we'll be looking at some of the Kenyan entrepreneurs who have ventured into the water sector. You don't want to miss that interesting conversation at about 3:30 p.m. right here on KTN News. My name is Abi Agina, and we actually call it a wrap for now, but we are coming to you later on at about 3:30. On behalf of the entire crew, we say a big thank you for watching at KTN News.